Welcome to How to Build a Bow for a Bow Drill Fire, brought to you by the Survival Garage. When you're making a bow for the bow drill fire, what you need is some form of stick about the width of your thumb and the length of your arm. From about armpit to fingertip is a decent rule. If you don't have and can't find a stick that long, definitely you can use something shorter. It's not as easy. You don't get as much of a power stroke out of the bow drill, but if your form is good, you can absolutely still get a fire. I've seen bow drill kits made that fit in the palm of someone's hand. That takes a lot of expertise to do so. So when you're making your first one, definitely get something about the width of your thumb, something fairly tough too. This and the top rock or top bearing, as we're going to show you in later videos, is something that you're going to want to keep for multiple fires. The things that are expendable, of course, are the spindle and the hearth and whatever you catch the coal in. In fact, when those are burned up, you usually just chuck those right in the fire. But I could see carrying a bow with you on the outside of your pack and a top rock. So definitely make it out of something that's a little bit more permanent. The cord, though, is up to you. I use 550 paracord. That's what you're seeing here. I've heard very good things about cotton clothesline rope. That I hear works very well. Shoelaces work just fine. I've used that. Natural cordage is a little bit rougher and it takes a better form. You can absolutely do it, and for thousands of years I'm sure they did. But when you're making your first one here, definitely use something that's a little tougher. Now with the 550 paracord, it can get slick on you. It's made of nylon, and when you start creating a lot of that friction, it can get slick on you. So when you make your spindle, you're going to have to definitely make that a little bit more octagonal to grab the paracord, and you have to stretch that paracord a little tighter when you're doing so if you're going to use that paracord. If you want a good all-around thing, a cotton shoelace works just fine. That seems to work well even with round spindles. Here we've got one end of the bow, and once you cut it to length, again from armpit to fingertip, you're going to want to split that about 1 inch to 2 inches down the end. You don't need to do this stuff. I like this because it absolutely secures the ends. You can just tie them on both ends and go. However, that tends to slip, and if you're going to make a bow that's a little bit more permanent, like we discussed before, I would definitely make about a 2-inch slit in there, and then what I would do is I would bevel the ends. Let me zoom in. Bevel that one end so you've got a flat edge holding the string back, and then you've got a taper that's forcing that line right into the notch. Now, once you've got those notches made on both sides, what I wanted to show you here, even though I show one knot tied on the left-hand side, is that you're going to want to leave a gap for your spindle, about a fist width gap. You're probably going to have to adjust this every time you get a new spindle made. They're just different, and to make sure you have the proper tension on there, and that's all by feel, you're going to have to adjust that. So when I teach you how to tie these knots, I'm going to teach you how to tie a knot that holds very tightly, but is easy to retie. Now that you're ready to tie the knot, you can see that what we're going to want to do first is floss the 550 cord right down into the split that you created, down to about the midpoint of the notch. Let me zoom in. What you're going to do next is then wrap the line underneath of the line there, holding it from sliding all the way down and splitting out the wood even further. If you don't wrap it underneath first, it will split out your woods. Wrap it underneath first, keep it tight, hold it with your finger there like I'm showing you there, and then wrap it over top. What you're going to want to do then is just go under, over until you've got only about 6 inches worth of line left. Then what you're going to do is go ahead and tie a double half hitch. If you don't know what a double half hitch is, there's a lot better tutorials online, definitely look them up, but I'll show you here basically how to tie one. It's almost like a granny knot. You just wrap it around once, poke the line through, and pull it tight, then simply do it again. Once you get done, this is what it's going to look like, so keep messing around with it. It is a fairly simple knot, but it does hold very tightly. It's really quick to tie. But that's what it's going to look like when it's done, so keep on practicing. One last thing that I do to keep things trim is to poke the line that's left over through the split that I've created. What you don't want is a bunch of line trailing behind. I've had it a couple of times where I've even knocked my own coal over that you're trying to create. Especially when you're practicing, this can be a fairly frustrating process until you get really used to it. So don't create yourself problems. Keep your workmanship very tight, tuck things in, make it right the first time, and it'll pay off in the end with a good fire. That's really it for making the bow. This is going to be, again, a more permanent portion of your kit, so take your time when making this. Make it out of good wood. Clean it up and make it personal. If it's a little bit too long, feel free to trim it up. If it's too short, get a longer piece. Take it some time and select a good piece of wood to make this with. That's it. Thanks for watching Survival Garage.